Hello, Devlin here with you, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. I'm here with you, and I took a couple of weeks off, and I'm back. This is my first official episode in 2018. And for some of you, you know that also means that I had a birthday in my hiatus. And happy 50th birthday to me. And for any of you regular viewers, you know that I have been maybe not obsessing over my 50th birthday coming up, but I've talked about it in past episodes about how I didn't know what I was going to do. If I was going to just do, a big party. That was one of my plans. I also planned maybe doing a living funeral. I also just planned to run away. I was hopping trains at one time. I'm a little bit of a drama queen. What can I say? But anyhow, my 50th has passed. And if you're interested, I had a quiet day. I did some things that kind of scared me. And then I did let a couple of my really close friends come over. And basically, it was a good day. It turned out to be a good day. It wasn't negative in any way. I was starting to worry that, I would be, putting too much pressure on myself. The part that scared me was I decided I was going to drive to Toronto. Take the train or bus. It was a bus. I always just say train, but I took the express bus to Toronto from Hamilton. That's where I'm from, Stony Creek. That area. And I decided I was going to go in and see a movie that wasn't playing here yet. Here in Hamilton, we have a couple of theaters, but we don't get a lot of those, critically acclaimed little movies. And this year, I kind of said I wanted to start getting back to them. The little theater that we used to play them, the Westdale, is under construction. So I'm hoping when they get back, they will get back to playing little indie films again. And then we get chances here and there, but I never think of doing them. But this year, I think I didn't do any resolutions this year, but if I had one, it would be I was going to try to get back to my love of movies. I absolutely adore movies, but lately I've just stuck with blockbusters or ones that are easily accessible, and I'm going to actually try to hunt out those rarer films, whether I find them in streaming or whether I, look for a little theater that's playing them. Sometimes the art gallery will play indie films. So I'm going to hunt them out. So for my birthday, I decided I was going to jump on a bus and go see a movie I really wanted to see called Call Me By Your Name. And it's a great little film. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm going to actually talk about that in the second half. I'm going to talk about two little movies that I got to see that it was great because it was exactly what I wanted to do to start in 2018. That doesn't say I'm giving up on the blockbusters. It just means I want to search them out. But when I say anxiety, I've been having this thing when I go to Toronto, mostly when I'm with myself. I'm usually okay if I'm with somebody else. But first of all, when I go to Toronto, I used to love going there to shop. I'd stay in the Eaton Centre area. And so many of my favorite stores have closed. And one of the stores I was looking forward to going to was the Silver Snail. And I was so disappointed by them. I think we've got better stuff in our comic book shops than they do right now. And so that was a little bit of a disappointment. But I enjoyed the trip. I love traveling, buses, trains, whether I'm the passenger in somebody's car. I love travel. I put some music on and I just, go to town and I just love it. It's very relaxing to me. But then I have that anxiety. But as I was saying, when I go to Toronto now, I have this anxiety. It's almost like a reversed vertigo. Now, I already have a fear of heights, but I noticed in the last couple of years, I have this thing where I have almost a fear of giant cities on top of me, because Hamilton's got some big buildings, but I wouldn't call it a metropolis or a Gotham type town. But Toronto is. Toronto is almost like a smaller version of New York City. There's just so many buildings, and I get this reverse vertigo. And usually I'm okay when I'm with somebody and my mind's taken off of it, but when I'm not, I'm just and it was very anxiety filled. Not to mention the place where I was going to see the movie I didn't know how the hell to get there. And so I jumped, on my trains, my subways, everything. And I felt okay when I was in the theater. And as I said, though, watching the movie was a great experience. And even getting back to the bus to go home, I tried to do a couple stores, but nothing was just, I used to go at least twice, 3 times a year to Toronto to shop. But they've just gotten rid of like Sam the Record Man and HMV and like all these stores I used to go to, the world's biggest bookstore, stuff like that. And they're all gone now. And there's just nothing that's special there. I have some friends telling me that they want to take me to places in Toronto that are a little different. And I'm willing to try that. But honestly, it's been hard just trying to go there. But it was nice seeing the movie and I had a good time. And then when I came home, I allowed a couple of my friends, just a few of them, to come over and worship me. No. It was a very subtle night. We had some little bit of dessert. They gave me gifts. We chatted a lot, reminisced. And it was very nice. And it was kind of what I wanted to do. I know some people like to have the big parties and that. And I was thinking of having one, throwing my own. But at the end of the day, I just went with something simpler. Now, this first half, I just want to talk a little bit about turning 50. Because a lot of people, I don't know, age is a weird thing. Because it doesn't affect everybody the same way. But I think eventually it does. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't care how old I turn. I don't feel any different. And honestly, I don't. When I say the words, I'm 50, I don't feel it whatsoever. There are days that I wake up that I literally feel like I'm still 19. Sometimes I feel like I'm 20. There are days I wake up and I feel like I'm 50. There are days I wake up I feel like I'm 60. Maybe a couple of aches and pains. Overall, healthy wise, I kind of feel more healthy than I probably did back in the day, like when I was in my 20s and 30s. I don't know why. I'm not doing much different. Well, I guess I've changed some of my eating habits and stuff like that. That could be it, But, I knew 50 would hit me hard, but it hasn't. I've actually handled it pretty well. I've even been warning people that there could be a crash coming, and I might be jinxing myself now that I'm putting it out on the public broadcast system. I'm probably going to crash after this. But, as I've always done, I'll be very honest with you guys about it. And thank you for tuning in on this, because it's just me usually rambling and stuff. But it means a lot to me, anybody who takes their time for this. But, when I turned 30, it wasn't a big deal. When I turned 40, it wasn't really a big deal. But 50 is mind-blowing because I don't feel it. And that's the thing. And I know people, like I've told people I'm turning 50, and people will be like, no way, no way. So that makes me feel good because they're telling me that I don't look 50, which makes me feel really good. But a lot of them have said that you don't act 50 either, and I agree with that. I have met people in my 20s that act a lot older than me. Like I've met people who are under 25 who come off like they're middle-aged people that have no hope in their life, and it really saddens me. And I meet more and more people that way because I've talked about it in the past. We raise our kids now to be just anxiety-filled and always worrying about everything and not teaching them, how they should just do things to make them happy. That I'm starting to find that's something you almost find out when you're older, or you don't. Sorry, having a little bit of a drink. My throat was getting dry from talking. I can't believe I've made it to 50. I've talked in the past about how I've had some rough patches and came really close to killing myself when I was in my 20s. And I remember when I turned 30, I bought myself a little ring to wear. And a lot of people, I've replaced it a couple times because I had one that broke, but I still keep it. Then I had another one that I wore for a while, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it, and then I replaced it one last time. And a lot of people think it's a wedding band, but it's actually a band that I bought for myself in order to say you made it. It's one of the one piece of jewelry that I wear pretty much all the time. I only take it off at night. I actually feel a little weird when I don't have it on. And it's, I put it on my ring finger, so it's not surprising. And right now it's kind of like a cheap gold, but I get so many compliments on it because it's kind of rainbowy colory, which means every time you move it towards the light, it looks like a different color. And I found it in Parry Sound, and I wear a symbol of this when I turned 30 because I honestly didn't think I'd make it to 30. Because of the darkness that I dealt with in my 20s, I honestly couldn't believe I made it to 30. So now here I am, and I'm 50. And I don't know if I'm any wiser. Okay, I feel a little wiser sometimes. I've learned a lot. I still am learning. I am the kind of person who believes we learn until the end of our lives, like right until the last day. I think there are a lot of people that just stop learning after a while. They're just happy with the way they are and they don't want to be better people, and they just stop. And I think they stop sooner in life now. I'm not like that. One of the things I want to do in my 50s is I want to try to find new things. Just try new things. And I'm not saying like skydiving or mountain climbing, just trying new things, I've been offered a couple of monologuing jobs, and I said yes to all three of them, even though before I probably would have thought about it, but I've just jumped right into it and said, no, I'll do it. Yes, I want to be there for that. And yeah, it's made me feel really good that I'm starting the year not knowing, because as I said, I didn't have that big crash. I had a mini crash just before Christmas, and that's kind of why I took a break, because I was actually going to plan to release stuff right through, but I had a bit of a one just before Christmas, but luckily I kind of dodged it after Christmas. So I'm holding on pretty good. It's been a couple weeks since my birthday, and I still haven't had that crash. I won't lie, I've had blue periods and stuff. But getting back to the whole, I can't believe I've made it to 50 when, I couldn't believe I made it to 30. If you're listening to this and ever thought about taking your life, well, thank you for listening to this. That means you haven't took your life, and then somehow you talked yourself out of it, or somebody helped you through it, or maybe your faith or your spiritualism or something caused you not to do it. I'm glad that you didn't do anything. And all I can ask is that you stick with it, because I can't promise you that things are going to be automatically better. For me, they have been. When I look around at the people in my life that I wouldn't have met if I took my life when I was 24 years old, it blows me away. Some of the most wonderful people could have been in my life, and I would never have met them. Life is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. I knew life was hard when I was a teen, but I wish I could say it gets better. Life doesn't always get better, but there are times that it does. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And there's usually more good times than bad times. You really have to work for it, though. You really have to get your head in the game. You really have to live life to the fullest. And when you do have those down times, accept them, embrace them. Hide away from the world for a little while. Don't do rash decisions, because honestly, the time I tried to kill myself at 24, I've now lived double that. So I've lived 2 lives in the time that I was going to take it. And yes, there were times that were really hard in those times, but when I think of all the wonderful, amazing, incredible times, the people, the moments that I'd live, I beg you to just try to get through. here I am, a man that, you know, wanted to die. And I still have moments like that. I still have moments where I just want to disappear off the face of this earth. But the truth of the matter is that I keep chugging along, I keep going for it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did, and I know you hearing me telling you this, even if you're at a low point right now, stick with it. Stick with it. Deal with the hard times and just cherish all the good times. And you have to work at it. You do have to work at it. I wish I could say life was easy, but it is not. It is something you have to work at. But, you know, I'm 50 and I've learned stuff along the way. Sadly, in the last couple of years, I've seen the darker side of life. I've seen stuff that I can't unsee. I see how people treat other people, and I kind of wish I still had that naivety, because I was kind of naive for most of my life, and then in the last, I would say, decade, I have really started seeing what the human race is about, and there's lots of good in it. And I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm trying to be real and honest with you. And whether you take that negatively or not, that's your way, but I'm trying not to. But I start seeing the fake in a lot of things and a lot of people. And some days I'm okay with it. I can deal with the fake. Other days I can't. It's just too overwhelming and I have to hide away from the world. But I still think overall there's a lot of good and a lot of good reasons to stick around and stuff like that. Other things I've learned in my 50 years is, you know, you always keep learning. You know, always try to do stuff that scares you. Don't be afraid to talk to people. I'm always preaching, talk to people of all ages, all races, all genders, all, just social, statuses and stuff. You learn so much from meeting new people. Everybody's not going to be your best friend. I once, when I was a kid, was told that you're lucky if you have 5 people at the end of your life that you can say are the people that you can really be yourself with. I have a lot of friends and acquaintances, and I have a lot of close ones, but I realized, when he told me that as a kid, I thought that sounds pretty depressing. But when I listen, now that I've seen it, look back at it, I understand what he meant. Yeah, you'll have a lot of people who are important in your life, good acquaintances, but he was absolutely right. People I can really honestly talk to as myself or as close to being myself, very small amount. That doesn't mean I can't have really good friendships with people, but they are there for a little bit of time and then they're gone again. And so I learned that. But cherish all of them, because even people that come into your life that hurt you are teaching you stuff. Sometimes those are the people that you actually learn more from than other things. So all relationships are good. Just cherish the ones that are out there. And don't be, if there's somebody that you enjoy spending time with, don't be doing the old, well, I'm going to wait till they call me. Call them. Yeah, if you call them a few times and they keep giving you excuses and starts feeling like they don't want to, yeah, move on. But I have to say that just, cherish those people. When you have those times when everything's going well in your life, really take it in. Those moments where you get a standing ovation or you get somebody telling you did a great thing, enjoy those. Find a way to stop, take a breath, and really enjoy them, because they are limited in your lifetime. So take all those moments. Take your bows. Take your compliments. Take your compliments. This is a big thing. I I remember, I've told this story before, but it's well worth telling again. I told a young person once that I noticed that somebody would compliment him and he would put down the compliment. And I took him aside and said, you have the right to do that, but do you realize that it was probably just as hard for that person to compliment you as it is for you to take the compliment? So I suggest you just take the compliment and respect the fact that it took that person a lot to say. That being said, another lesson, compliment people. Tell them you're a good worker. I like those clothes you're wearing. I like your eyes. You make me laugh. You make me smile. I miss you. Stuff like that. Little things like that, telling people each day makes life so much better. When I'm depressed, sometimes I will go out of my way to write little notes to people and try to make them happy. Even if it doesn't necessarily take me out of my funk, it does make me feel good a little bit, and it starts working the process to getting me back to my old self again. People don't do that as much now, but it is so important. Help people out, Help people out, Help them move. Help them, give them a couple of change if you see that they're noticing, they're lacking, they're trying to use a vending machine. Just little things. It doesn't even have to be groundbreaking. Just, help out your fellow person, even if it's like a friend or just somebody you know randomly. If you can do it, it'll make you feel good, but it'll make them feel even more. And we need to do that more on Earth. On Earth. Listen to me talking to me like I'm some Martian from another planet. I've been actually going through a Superman complex during my birthday. Not gonna lie to you. Because I feel kind of like I relate to Superman. I've always, I used to like Batman when I grew up, but the last couple of decades I really became a fan of Superman. And I think Henry Cavill's performance as Superman in the DC movies have really taken it to another level. That and Smallville, about how he's like this alien from another planet, but he was raised as a human and he tries desperately to fit in. But he knows that, one false move and everybody wants to crucify him. Everybody wants to dissect him. And I feel like that sometimes, that, I do good in the world, or I try to be the best Devlin I can possibly be. And then, if I make one false move, people are judging me and wanting to and I just, so I relate a lot to Superman, and I think he's going to be my role model for the next 50 years. Just because I always have that feeling like I'll do the best I can, but I always am afraid that people will turn their backs on me at some point or leave me. I don't know, I'm crying out. This is supposed to be a positive one. Life is hard. It's been 50 years, and it's been a good life. Honestly, if I disappeared tomorrow, I could literally say that I touched lives. Overall, I was happy. Unfortunately, I deal with these damn demons and these depressions that come in and take that away from me. But overall, I'm a happy person. I'm happy where my life is. I may not be a rich man. I may not be successful as other people would see me as successful. But I know I've touched lives. I know that when I walk into a room, I see people smiling. They're happy I'm there. I see people that seem genuine happy when they talk to me, or if I bump into them in the street, even if I only was a part of their life for a very small thing. I know I've done good in this world just by being a good person. I never cured cancer or never, did anything miraculous, but that's one thing you need to know about this life. If you just constantly be the best person you can be, there's a lot of people that will smile when they hear your name. There's a lot of people that, will just feel good when they hear you. And it doesn't take, if you can cure cancer, go for it. If you can do all that stuff, that's great. But just being a good person and not giving up and keep fighting and showing people that you can survive. For anybody who regularly listens to this podcast, you know I go through ups and downs like there's no tomorrow. But you just be a good person and it comes back around. Yes, there's a lot of bad stuff that can still happen to you, but you know what? Bad stuff is just inevitable. Some people just don't have it happen as much, but everybody goes through hard times. I am glad I did not kill myself when I was 24, and I'm glad that I doubled those years, and here I am at the age of 50, and I'm ready to deal with more. I'm glad I haven't crashed yet. I'll say that just in case tomorrow I wake up and I crash. But right now I'm happy that I'm looking forward to the future. I don't know really what it holds. I have made some changes in my life that are going to be big. Some people won't like them. Other people will. I've just decided that the next little while is I've got to make those changes if I'm going to survive a couple more decades here on planet Earth there. I'll talk like a Kryptonian again for a little bit. Anyhow, that's enough of me patting myself on the back for making it to 50. But you know what? It is worth celebrating. And I'm glad I did it with a few close friends, and those friends just were happy that I let them in on it, and I'm glad I did too, because they are definitely people that I know will be there till the end of my days, and that's why I wanted them there, because there was no doubt. Anyhow, I'm going to take a short break, and then I've got 2 movie reviews coming in the second half. I got to see 2 really good feel-good films, and I'm going to review both of them. And I think that's how I'm going to wrap up this episode. I'm going to talk about the movie Call Me By Your Name and Wonder. Now, Wonder was a bigger hit movie, but they both are kind of critically acclaimed films, and they were 2 films I definitely wanted to see to kick off my year. And I'm going to talk about them right after we take a bit of an intermission. So go have a pee, go grab a snack, get your favorite beverage, whatever you want to do. I will see you here in just a few short minutes.
We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. Did you fail to dress up for tonight's show? No tie, an old shirt and slacks, a house dress? Well, don't give it a thought. We're glad you came as you are. We just want you to enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to visit our refreshment center during the intermission or any time. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. So will the youngsters. Everything is quality and so good. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see, delightful snacks to nibble, a gay, pleasant evening for all. Oh, a word of caution. Don't drive over 10 miles an hour in the theater area for your safety's sake. And Mom or Pop, go with the kids when they leave the car. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon.
Welcome back. It's my podcast. What can I say? And this is the first one of 2018. I tried to keep it light, but I guess I did get not really dark. I got really lost in philosophy in the first half. But we're down to some movie reviews right now. Last year was a really great year for movies, but there was a lot of movies that left me kind of cold. I went to see a lot of blockbusters last year, like big screen movies that you could find everywhere. And I like big blockbusters, but sadly, I didn't have a lot of chances to see a lot of independent films or smaller films. That being said, my favorite film of last year was Baby Driver, which wasn't quite as big a blockbuster, though it did go on to become a big hit. My favorite movie, just absolutely love that film. But when I looked at my other movies, they were all like fairly big releases and stuff, and a couple of them left me cold, you know. There were some good ones, don't get me wrong. I loved Spider-Man Homecoming. I liked War of the Planet of the Apes. I loved It. I loved Wonder Woman. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 2. There's probably a lot I'm missing. But a couple left me a little cold. Alien Covenant, I didn't think was all that solid. I think it was probably one of my worst films of the year. I was really looking forward to Baywatch, and that was a real stinker. And yeah, there was a lot that just left me cold. There was a really big one that left me cold, but I don't want to really go into it. I can tell you the movie, but it was Star Wars The Last Jedi. And I've seen it a couple times now. And the reason I don't want to mention it is because I think next week I'm going to actually do a full episode on finally talking about this. A lot of people have asked me a little quietly because they know I'm a Star Wars fan. What did you think of Last Jedi? And I'll be honest, at the beginning I had so many conflicting views and stuff, so it's almost taken me a month to get my head around it. So I'm going to go right into that next week. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll love it. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you might want to skip next week's podcast because that's all I'm talking. But today, I already started the year with 2 smaller films, and it was a great way to kick off the year. As I said, on my birthday, I wanted to go see something like life-affirming. So I heard wonderful reviews of a movie called Call Me By Your Name. And this is a romantic coming-of-age drama. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino. I totally butchered that. I apologize. Was written by James Ivory, and it stars Timothy Chalamet and Armie Hammer. It also stars Michael Stuhlbarg, Amira Kasser, and Esther Garel, to name but a few. This, I heard wonderful things about it. It's been a while since I've saw a gay kind of film. And I don't want to call it a gay film because I hate, as soon as you put that stigma on it, people are always like turned away from it and that. And I think this is a coming of age film more than it is about, being gay and experimenting and stuff. It takes place in the 80s, which is quite nice. And the soundtrack, I know I shouldn't start with the soundtrack first, but the soundtrack is amazing in this. It's got lots of classical pieces, and it's also got a lot of like 80s classics. Not a lot like a Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that, but there's just nice splicings of 80s music. The movie is basically about a boy that he's a teenager. He's 17 years old, and he spends a lot of time in Italy during the summer with his family. His father, I think he's a historian, and he searches out like art and statues and stuff like that and finds out their meaning. He logs for like museums and art galleries and stuff like that. And every year he gets a helper for him, and the boy is played by Timothy Chalamet, who is a wonderful young actor who I think we're going to see a lot more of. He was already nominated for a Golden Globe. He didn't win it, but there's already talk that this young man might also be up for an Oscar, and hopefully he does, because he's really amazing in this film. So the father every year gets a helper that he hires, and this year he hires a American played by Armie Hammer in a role I've never seen him in before. Armie Hammer gets a lot of crap for, he's been pushed in our face to be the next big thing. He was in movies like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Lone Ranger. He played twins in The Social Network, but he's never really been a big name star. But he really shines in this movie too, as the kind of cocky assistant that comes in. And at first, you're not even sure these two like each other. And they're both straight males. But as the summer progresses, our lead actor, the teen, starts realizing that he's having feelings for him. And eventually they come to terms with the fact that there might be more than just a friendship brewing, and that even though they are straight, that there's obviously some bisexual tendencies here. Now, I called this kind of a gay movie, and that was not right to say, because they deal with everything. The thing I like most about this movie is they never, ever try to label each other. Like, you don't know if, they don't say, I'm coming out or anything like that. As far as you know, this could just be about experimenting, exploring bisexuality. They never try to name it. So by the end of this film, and I'm not giving away anything, but they never try to pinpoint anything like, this man is gay, this man is gay, this man, nothing like that. They just deal with the relationship at hand. And that's the thing that's beautiful. They take their time. And it's always nice when they set it to a backdrop of like Italy and stuff like that, because it is just a gorgeous, gorgeous film. And people just take their times, and it's in like a small village in Italy, so it's absolutely beautiful because life doesn't move really fast there, and this movie takes its time to develop it. Now, I am not going to be the spoiler to say if they get together or not in this, because this is a movie totally about the journey. The title, Call Me By Your Name, I always thought was kind of a weird thing because I didn't know what it meant, but you will know what it means when you see the movie, and it's kind of sweet. And what I love is, as I said, they take their time with this, so it's not just rushed. It's a sensitive subject matter, too, because I forgot to mention, the assistant is like in his, late 20s, early 30s, and the boy is 17. Now, it does take place in Europe, so that's legal age in most things, but there is still that age thing. The one thing I have to say is that they handle it really well. You don't feel like in any way it's like playing it up as exploitation. You don't feel like it's playing any way like it's, like anybody's being seduced. These are two people who just start falling for one another. What I also like is how the parents handle a situation like this. They don't go in great detail, but I love how, again, I don't want to give away spoilers, but they handle things a little different than if this movie was an American-made film. I believe this, I could be wrong, I believe this was like a cross-joint venture between American and a French filmmaker. I could be totally wrong on that. I apologize if I was. It's based on a novel, and I think they really handle that approach. But I love that there's a lot of open-mindedness in this, even though they set the movie back in the 80s where things were still a little, it wasn't as open. It might have been a little open towards the, a relationship like this. But I think they play it really well. And there are lots of times when you just realize that that this relationship might only last the summer, and you feel as if time is running out on these, and you're wondering, are they going to get together? Are they not? How's it going to end? And you enjoy the journey, but there's always that feel of time is running out for these two. And it's beautifully played. And as I said, the soundtrack is phenomenal. They mix classical music. There's a couple of new songs that were added that are just phenomenal. And then they have a couple of 80s songs to give it that feel. I remember hearing, Psychedelic Furs. Love Your Way is played a lot. And I forgot how much I really like that song. I think I went home and played it a few times. And it's a great track. And this movie's wonderful. Now, this is a movie that it might not play in a lot of smaller areas. The Oscar nominations should be coming out pretty soon. And if it gets some, which I think it has a good shot. I hope the buzz on this movie isn't disappearing, because this is just a feel-good film. But honestly, it's a great film, and you may have to hunt this one out, but it is worth hunting out. And please don't think of it as like a gay film. What I like about movies like this, like a Brokeback Mountain, and what I loved seeing older people see that movie, is due to the fact that I love just seeing that it was a movie about relationships, and you got past the fact that it was two men that were falling in love. And this movie has the same feel. So again, Call Me By Your Name. Look out for it. I'm hoping if it gets nominated for Oscars that it might start playing in some Cineplexes again and stuff. But this is one worthy to hunt out, or when it streams, or when you get the DVD or Blu-ray coming out. It's a really great film, and a wonderful coming-age film. Definitely worthy of checking out, and a feel-good one to see on my birthday. And the reason why is this movie is fabulous from start to finish. It's got drama, it's got romance, it's got some comedy in it. But what I love is there is a speech by the boy's father that, again, this doesn't give anything away if they get together or not, but he says how he's kind of jealous of the situation because not many people in their lifetime have a love affair like that, like a relationship, a friendship. Now, he never specifies if they're lovers, if they're friends. He just knows there's a bond between these two men of different ages, and it's just a powerful speech. And I really needed to hear it on my birthday because I cherish relationships so much that, I've had relationships this intense and ones that will stick with me for a long time. So I really needed to hear that, and it's a powerhouse speech, monologue, or when he says it. So really great. Now, Damien, the friend I have that we do the movie review show, for my birthday he said that he was going to take me to any movie I wanted, and he couldn't say yes or no to it. He had to go whatever I wanted to go see, and then he took me out for dinner. And so I still wanted to see life-affirming films to kick off my years. So I looked for a movie that got a lot more play. It played in a lot of theaters, and it still plays in some theaters. And I am glad I got to see this movie. It's a little film called Wonder. It came out, I think, around November, and it's still playing in a lot of theaters in some ways. But this is another feel-good film. It's done very well. Word of mouth has turned it into, like, it was a modest budget of $20 million, and it's already grossed over $220 million, and it's a great film. And it was directed by Steven Chbosky. It was written by Jack Thorne, Steve Conrad, and Steven Chbosky. It's based on a 2012 novel of the same name by R.J. Palacio. I'm probably torturing those names. It stars Julia Roberts, Owen Wilson, and Jacob Tremblay. This is a wonderful film, and some people might not like this kind of film because they might think it's one of those heavy-handed Hallmarky type movies. And yes, it is a little heavy-handed, but the approach this movie took on its subject makes this thing so wonderful. And when I went to the showing that I saw, and as I said, it's already been out for a couple months, it was wonderful. It was a full house, and it was like families. Kids were going to this too. Basically, if you don't know what the film is about, it follows a child with Treacher-Collins syndrome trying to fit into the world. And it basically follows, I think, a year where he finally starts being ingratiated into the actual school system after being taught by his mother. Now, it's hard to explain exactly what Treacher-Collins syndrome is, but it's kind of like a deformity at birth. Mentally, there's nothing wrong with the child, but like the ears are underdeveloped, the face and stuff. He jokes that I think he had something like 35 surgeries in his short life because he's 9 in this movie. And like basically how he looks is, because people always, ask him, well, can't you do anything with, plastic surgery? And he said, yeah, this is how good as it gets after 35 or something like that. And this is a wonderful movie. Julia Roberts is, I think she's a wonderful actress. But when I go to Julia Roberts movies, I always see Julia Roberts. And I think she really lost herself in this movie. Because after a while, I didn't see Julia Roberts. I saw a mom caring about her son. Same with Owen Wilson. He's a bit of a clown in this movie, but he comes off as one of those awkward dads. And he really does a great job portraying that. I think they were at the top of their game in this. And I kind of forgot they were these, big celebrities. Jacob Tremblay is a young actor who was in a movie called Room a couple years ago. Not to be confused with The Room. It was a critically acclaimed film where there was lots of Oscar nods. And he's just a great young actor, and he is the kid with, the disease, and it's a wonderful, wonderful portrayal by him. And August is his name. They call him Augie. And he's going, after years of being school taught by his mother, Julia Roberts, he is going to be put into the school system. He meets 3 kids at the beginning, and they range from being sympathetic to him to kind of being a prick to him, is the nicest way. You see the trials and tribulations he goes through. You see his successes. You see his downfalls. And some people might not like that. I had tears in my eyes for a good chunk of this movie. Sometimes sad, most of the times just loving to see how strong he is made. But what I like about it, too, is it doesn't just focus on the boy. It focuses on other characters in his life and how that one life affects, like, his friends, his sister's friends. Like, how outreaching one kid can turn things around. I'm not surprised this book was a success, because it's kind of, the movie almost plays out like the book, like almost giving us chapters, even writing the chapter and stuff. But it's just a wonderful film because it just doesn't focus on the kid. It focuses on how the parents are dealing with this, how his sister deals with it, how his sister's friends deal with it, how his friend deals with it. Like, making friends, losing friends, all the stuff that adolescents deal with. But he has to deal with even more so. And he also starts learning that life isn't just revolved around him, that his life, yes, is traumatic and has its ups and downs, but he starts growing up and learning that that is for everything. That, his sister doesn't have the same syndrome as him, but she deals with the same problems he deals with. Yes, he does have separate problems, and they never outdo this. This movie had me tearing up so much through the movie, and I was just like blubbering, but I also felt great after seeing it. And I loved how quiet some of the young kids were at this movie, because there are parts in this that are very grown up and adult, and to see kids learning and hopefully learning from this film, because it's kind of reminded me of a movie. It's kind of like Elephant Man and Mask, which were 2 movies that dealt with similar topics about, people who had deformities, and birth defects, and, but this one is actually done for a younger audience. Mask is tells it like it is too, based on a true story and stuff, but this movie really deals with it for families to watch and talk about. And it was so refreshing to see the different ages in this movie. I think this will be a big release when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray and stuff. But look for it. There's a lot of little theaters that are maybe just playing matinee performances, or theaters that show movies a little later. It's called Wonder, and it's just a feel-good film, and definitely one I needed to see. Because as I said, I wanted to start this year seeing more smaller, intimate films, and what a way to kick things off with these 2 back-to-back coming of age. Both are coming of age in a lot of ways. Just one was a teen one was a 9-year-old. And, great start to the year for me as far as watching movies go, because these were 2 amazing films, and I strongly, strongly recommend them. And please, if you don't find them in a theater near you, go find them, because it is definitely worth it. 2 great movies there. That is Wonder, and Call Me By Your Name. Anyhow, as I said, next week I'm going to break my silence. I'm going to talk the full episode of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I was a little on the side of being disappointed by it, and really disappointed by it. And I will talk openly and honestly about it. And I went to see it a second time to give it a chance, and I will explain all about how I feel. So if you're a fan or interested in what I felt about The Last Jedi, I've kind of given you a hint. But I'm going to try to go into it in depth and talk about stuff that I want. It's taken me a month to wrap my head around it, but I'm going to finally talk about it. Like, I didn't even put my opinions of it on Facebook or anything like that. It really bothered me. It was a horrible way to end last year in ways. But I'm going to really give it an honest treatment, and it's going to take the whole hour, I think. So if you're not a Star Wars fan and don't want to hear about a guy ranting and raving about a movie, then by all means, you get a pass for the next one. But if you are interested to think of what I thought of The Last Jedi, I'm going to try to give it a fair assessment, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I downright hated. And yeah, I'm finally going to talk about it. But that's next week, and I hope you have a great week. Thank you for taking the time to press play and spending a little time with me. You know, it was kind of like celebrating my 50th with you, and it was nice. And hopefully I get to release a lot more of these, and I'm going to keep doing it. I hope to have some more guests coming up soon, and thank you. And I will talk to you very, very soon.